Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to episode 7 of Strictly Sports with Jacob Browne. As always, I am joined by CJ Ure, my host, and Mitchell Roshel as well. So we are here for episode 7 of Strictly Sports with Jacob Browne. We got a lot to talk about today. There's so much that happened in this past week of sports. But first, let's start off with FAU basketball. This is something we haven't talked about a lot this season. It's something, honestly, we should put more focus into. We're getting into FAU basketball season, FAU baseball starting in the middle of February. So we got to get into the other sports now, not just football here on this show. So CJ, last night you just told me a few minutes ago you were watching that game. What are some of those biggest takeaways you took away from last night?
It was a week ago. I don't remember what day of the week it was, but one thing that I'd like to note is props to whoever was able to get FAU sports on ESPN Plus. It is much easier to watch. I always hated when our stuff was on Stadium, or Facebook Live. I don't understand who would choose to put it on those platforms. But now being on ESPN Plus, most people pay for ESPN Plus, so the exposure for FAU is out there, which I'm really enjoying. So it was against Middle Tennessee. Middle Tennessee came into Boca as a four-win team, and they were 0-3 in the conference, or 0-4. They hadn't gotten a win yet, and it was the largest crowd in a while. I think the arena holds 2,500, and we had about 2,010 people. I think it was. We were above 2,000, so the place was rocking. That was the first basketball tailgate for Greek life too. So that's a positive correlation with Greek life and basketball attendance. But we played a bad game. Middle Tennessee's not a good basketball team. They were 0-3 in the conference going into the game. And unfortunately, we ran into a team that was shooting around 60% from the three-point range, and they were just on fire. With a few seconds left in the game, everybody was on the edge of their seat, and Jalen Ingram shot a fadeaway three-pointer from the corner, and that tied us, put us into overtime, and we ended up prevailing. It was very good to just see it on ESPN. The crowd was great, and I think FAU sports ever since this last fall with the transition from Lane Kiffin to Willie Taggart and the win in the bowl game, I feel like there's a new pride around school. I think the sports are ready to take the next step, and it looks like basketball has a real shot at winning Conference USA and getting a bid to March Madness.
I mean, I agree with you. And, when I see just the involvement with students this year with FAU basketball that we didn't even see last year, and you have the coach Dusty May, you have Willie Taggart showing up to the basketball game, telling the crowd, hey guys, we need to pack that stadium next year. So finally we're seeing, FAU trying to build that sports culture. So Mitch, we were talking about FAU hoops. What are you thinking in terms of the state of FAU basketball right now?
I think it's great. I think Dusty May is doing a tremendous job. I think it's a great game. It's a very exciting team to watch, and I think he's done a tremendous job here. And I agree with CJ. A bid to March Madness would be great. So
Ooh, man.
yeah, that would be really exciting. But yeah, they're a fun team to watch. I enjoy going to the games. I was at the UAB game, and I know they're having faculty and staff discount on for the 30th against Western Kentucky. So I encourage everyone to go out and support the team. They're a lot of fun to watch.
They have some
Absolutely,
really good
absolutely.
scorers.
What'd you say,
They've
CJ?
got some really good scorers, like
Yeah.
guys that are fun to watch. They could take the ball from beyond the arc and they'll drive in. Like they've got some fun guys to watch. It's just if they can, bring it all together. I think Dusty May's a great coach.
Right, and you don't expect these things to happen after 1 year either. These things take time. May just got here, and already, in a short period of time, you're seeing how much this program is already improved. So now let's move on to the big game from last week, the College Football National Championship. So CJ and I were blatantly wrong. We both picked Clemson in this game. We picked them because I looked at Lawrence and I said, at the time I said, people are forgetting who this guy is. He has never lost a game. He's the defending champion. Why are we automatically writing this guy off? And we also, CJ brought up the point as well. He said LSU's been through this amazing schedule. You got to lose one of those games at some point. But LSU really did win. And I said that day, if they do win the championship, that is by far one of the most impressive seasons we have ever seen from a college football team. Might not be one of the best teams ever, but the resume that it took to get there, and with the end result of the championship, you could say it's one of the best resumes we've ever seen. But in terms of how we go forward in college football next year with the SEC, LSU might not be at the top of the rankings next year in the SEC. We just saw today Georgia got a 6'5" #1 recruit quarterback to go to Georgia. That changes a lot of things in the SEC. Georgia's not going anywhere. They've got running backs coming out of that program every year. They've got receivers coming out of there every year. They're not going anywhere. And with Joe Burrow going to the NFL draft, LSU might take a little slip. But again, amazing season for them. Let's not write off Clemson either. They'll be back next year. Eddie Yenny is staying. He is not going into the NFL draft, which I actually think is really smart for him to stay, because if he had entered this year's draft, he would have been probably the 5th or 6th running back on the depth chart. Next year, he'll be able to go a little bit higher, maybe get himself a little bit more dough in that draft slot. But overall, I love the college championship game. It was one of the best in a while. But Mitch, who did you have going into that game, and what did you think about the game in total?
So I had Clemson.
Oh, you too? Okay, we were all wrong here.
Yeah, I had Clemson. I just, there's something about Dabo Sweeney, just
Yeah.
really like the energy that he brings to the game, and and also Trevor Lawrence. He didn't win a game. I mean, he didn't lose.
Right,
He didn't lose. He was 25-0 as the starting quarterback. But he met Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow had a very special season this year, and good for him. He won the Heisman national championship, so he ran into Joe Burrow, and so I really thought that Clemson was going to win the game, and like you guys were all wrong. I was wrong.
Yeah, we were all wrong here, unfortunately. CJ, what about you?
So I will give all props to LSU. What an unreal season. I don't think that there's ever been a season with that type of is that better? With that type of strength of schedule. I mean, holy cow, you beat Clemson, Oklahoma. That was just the playoffs.
Yeah, those were
Auburn,
2 weeks.
Alabama, UF, Texas on the road, by the way. Texas is a tough team to play. They went into Texas and won that game,
Yeah.
and that was a shootout. Full props to LSU. I'm most happy for Coach O. He was addicted to alcohol. He's always made fun of people's always made fun of his voice. He was passed over for a lot of jobs, and LSU took a chance on him, and he has totally proven them right on that.
Well, he did the best possible thing you could do in that position.
So I agree with what you're saying about LSU not being number 1 in the SEC next year. I don't even think they're number 2.
Yeah, I mean, there's still Florida sitting there in Alabama.
I mean, they're still gonna have an unbelievable team. They'll if they made the playoff next year, I would not be surprised. But I think Bama is number 1. They've got a lot of guys who decided to stay. Key guys like Alex Leatherwood, who's an offensive lineman, and they still have a great quarterback right behind Tua. And they've got Tua's brother who's ready to roll whenever.
Him too.
You can't. Nick Saban will definitely be on a revenge tour, but I will say, Georgia got a big one yesterday, or was it today or yesterday?
I think it was this morning, but
This morning,
rumors last night. But
the 5-star quarterback. I'm excited to see him develop.
6'5".
Hopefully
I mean, you don't
he
find
doesn't.
6'5" quarterbacks.
Yeah. Hopefully he doesn't redshirt and kills it at Georgia. So if the Dolphins screw it up again at quarterback, we'll have another shot.
So actually, in the history dictates that tall quarterbacks do not do well. You remember all those? A lot of tall quarterbacks went into the NFL and they just didn't.
That's a good point. I mean, Lamar Jackson, not that tall. Russell Wilson, shorter. Drew Brees, shorter. It's not necessarily about the size, but whenever you see 6'5", you're like, whoa, that's a big deal.
But the other thing with LSU is the running back Edwards-Helaire, who, in my opinion, was a total unsung hero. Throughout, he got hyped up towards the end of the year. Everyone was like, "Oh my God, this guy's insane." Look for him to be one of the best steals in the draft. I don't know what it is about that. He reminds me of Motor.
Yeah,
but
just flying under the radar there.
SEC Motor that's been through whatever defenses possible. And then Randy Moss's kid declared as well, Thaddeus Moss. He will be going to the draft. He's a tight end. So yeah, I mean, I agree. I think Clemson next year will also be. Trevor Lawrence comes back. Travis Etienne comes back. So they'll be up there.
And the ACC is horrible, so
And I
you
think
know,
that
even
next
if those
year
guys
is-
did leave.
I think next year's final of the year we don't see Oklahoma in the playoff.
Yeah, and actually, that's a perfect segue into what I was about to ask you guys. So, when I was watching that game when Oklahoma was playing, I was like, why is this the best possible 4 seed that we have right now? You know, I was looking at teams that didn't make it. You know, Florida, Georgia, all these teams, and I kind of came to this conclusion. I didn't even think this a few months ago. Can we just have the 4 best teams in the college football playoffs? It's all about these qualifications. It's all about, oh, if you have 1 loss or 2 losses, you can't make it because this team had 1 loss. No, to me, it's about the best teams need to be in it. Oklahoma clearly did not belong in the college football championship. The only reason that they were there is because they won the Big 12, and that's it. It's the only reason they were there. Florida should have been there above them. They had a much better defense. They have a much better offense. I mean, it's not even a question that Oklahoma should not have been there in this playoff. So I will ask this to you, Mitch. With the 8 seed, so I'll preface it with this. It looks like we're probably going to get an 8 seed college football playoff at some point. With the problems we're already seeing with the 4 seeded playoffs, do you think that presents any problems for a potential 8 seed playoff?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, because you're adding more teams to the mix. I think the one thing you left out was that so the other thing that factors in is fan support.
Yeah,
Who has the best fan support? They travel with their team
yeah.
because it's a business. So who's going to rent the most hotel rooms and spend money on flights and restaurants and things like that. So that always factors into it as well. So yeah, whenever you add more teams into the mix, it's always an interesting thing. But I think it's a good thing.
I mean, I welcome the competition because I think with an 8 team playoff, you at least get the chance that there's someone other than the 4 seed to be playing in that game. So it provides the opportunity for something else to happen. CJ, what do you think about that point?
So I kind of have a strong opinion about the 8 team thing, but when it comes to Oklahoma, I wasn't mad that they were the 4. I would have liked to have seen a different 4, but we have to respect the other Power 5 conferences. There's always some good teams that come out of the Pac-12. There's always some good teams that come out of the Big 12. I'm never going to count out a conference that has TCU, Texas, Oklahoma,
Baylor.
Baylor. They're a good conference. Pac-12, Stanford, Oregon, UCLA, some of the Cal teams, USC. You never know with them. You got to treat them seriously. They always get freak athletes over there. They've just gone through a few down years aside from Oklahoma and Oregon. Those are the only teams that I can think of that are over the past, let's say, 8 years have been like actual title
Worthy from those
contenders. Yeah.
conferences, right?
And the other thing is Oklahoma has made a national championship. I was at the national championship when they were here in Miami against the Gators when Sam Bradford was there, so they have history too. With the 8 team playoff, I feel like the playoff is perfect. Like it's been great. It's not perfect, but it's been good because there's not as much debate as to who should be in and who shouldn't be. Like
Yeah.
I remember one of the years, I used to be a huge Gator fan because that's where my parents went to school. But it was Ohio State versus UF in '06, and it was ranked number 1 versus ranked number 4 in the national championship. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, well, what happened to number 2 and number 3? Like, was there no debate?
Yeah.
How did you do this? So the playoff is good, but I feel like it is taking a lot of credit away from other bowl games. If that makes sense.
Well, I mean, and that's something that the 8 team playoff would help because then you're turning some bowl games that aren't playoff
Yeah.
games into playoff games.
Well, I feel like the playoff game, people don't say, "Oh, are you excited to watch the Sugar Bowl?" It's, "Are you excited to watch the playoff game tonight?"
Exactly.
Right, and that's why college football for years didn't want a playoff
Yeah,
because they didn't want to diminish the bowl games.
yeah. It's like the Orange Bowl was here in Miami, packed house. No one cared to call it the Orange Bowl. The Orange Bowl used to be a huge bowl. There was 4 bowl games outside of the national championship game that were just as prestigious as the national championship game, and you wanted to hoist a trophy. Now it's like, the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl sometimes has some great teams in it. No one cares about it anymore. So the more playoff teams you add, the more the other bowl games just don't matter. And for me as an FAU student, as an FAU fan, and I want to be in the best bowl game possible, those other bowl games that always had a good name to them aren't going to be credible anymore.
No,
if
that's
that
a good
makes sense.
point because you can say that more playoff games would be playoff games, but at the same time, it really hurts the smaller schools. Because if you make like an FAU, if you make a big bowl game, that's a huge deal. But if no one's watching it, that might be a problem. So let's shift into the NFL playoffs now. What a weekend it was. Actually, first of all, we do have Mitch Roshel on today. And Mitch, you told me before the show we have a message here about the Career Center today, so it's all yours.
Yes, well, thanks for having me back again. It's
Oh, of
always
course.
fun to be here. So I'm with the Career Center, and our goal is to help students get hired. We provide a lot of services from resume writing, interview prep, choose a career path, internship search, full-time job search. So we're having a lot of great career events this spring. The big one, next big one is January 29th. We're having our internship and part-time job fair. That's going to be over in the Recreation and Fitness Center on the Boca Raton campus here from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. We're going to have close to 100 employers from all different industries. And I can't stress enough how effective and how important going to career fairs are. I mean, there are employers who will hire you right on the spot. You get that face-to-face interaction with employers. So very important, dress professionally, bring your resumes. You can search on Handshake and you can take a look at all the different employers that are going to be participating. So that's our next event. And then after that, we also have our Career Expo on February 13th. That's also at the Recreation and Fitness Center, and it's from 11 to 2 on campus. And all this information is on Handshake. So we have a lot of great events coming up this spring. You can go to the events tab, the fair tab, and you can find out all the information. So they're really the most effective way to find an internship, a part-time, or even a full-time job.
Just want to add in, Mitch has been really helpful for me. I was in his office hounding him like 8 times this past week, and they've helped me get my resume up to par and have helped me with new opportunities and have opened me up to an entire world of opportunities around the FAU area. I am now telling all my friends and my little sister who goes to school here, get in the career advising sooner than later. It's my senior year, and it took me way too long, but I'm still here doing it, and recommend it to everyone.
No, I completely agree with you, CJ. I mean, Mitch giving us that job opportunity the other day. I mean, I would never have found that without Mitch, without the Career Center. And I think it's just so important. People are searching for jobs, and we have the Career Center right here on FAU. It's here for you. That's what it is. It's right there. It's free to walk in. They're there to help you, and hopefully people start using it more.
Exactly.
So,
We have walk-ins Monday through Friday, 9 to 4 at the main Career Center, which is in the Student Support Services building, room 220 right next to financial aid, or you can schedule an appointment on Handshake, regardless of what your major is. We're here to help you.
absolutely, absolutely. So now we are going to shift into the NFL playoffs and talk about the championship games. So let's start with the AFC Championship game. The Kansas City Chiefs beat the Tennessee Titans, as many expected. And I'll talk about the NFC Championship game too. The San Francisco 49ers demolished the Green Bay Packers. I was telling people all week, I was talking, just spitballing with friends. They're like, oh, I got the Packers. And I was like, guys, that O-line is so bad for Green Bay against that defensive line for San Francisco. I saw no chance that Green Bay would win that game, and they did not. But I look at this Super Bowl, and I'm still questioning who I'm going to pick. I'm not making my pick on today's show because I have next week's show for that. But these are going to be two incredible teams. You have the best offense in the NFL in the Kansas City Chiefs, with arguably the best quarterback in Patrick Mahomes, against the best defense in the NFL in the San Francisco 49ers, with Nick Bosa, Richard Sherman, and all the other guys on that defense. I just don't know. And here's the question I'll pose to both of you. What was the more impressive win? The Chiefs win over the Titans or the Niners over the Packers, Mitch?
That's a good question. I mean, the Chiefs, for the second week in a row, they came from behind. And it's a
Yeah.
very, and it's Arrowhead's a very tough place to win for visiting teams to come in. But you got, I liked what the 49ers did. I mean, they just ran the ball. Jimmy Garoppolo threw the ball 6 times. I mean, I think it was
Tannehill
6,
strategy.
right. He was 6 for
Yeah.
8. So and Tevin Coleman was hurt, so it was literally their backup running back.
Yeah.
So I think it's impressive that they just rolled over the Packers like that, and they've had a great season, and that's why as much as I'd like to, and we were talking about this before, I like Andy Reid to win, finally get that win after so many years, but I like the 49ers right now. They're just for everyone, and I think that's why they're at a disadvantage with the bye week. I think the 49ers would want to play. Want to get back out there, get back on the field, and play. So I like the 49ers, but I really want Andy Reid to finally get his Super Bowl win.
Yep, CJ.
So what's the what's the question?
So the initial it was what was the more impressive win?
Okay,
Kansas City over Tennessee, or yeah?
Okay, so that's a tough question because I think that Tennessee Titans team gauntlet, they went 2 for 3. I mean, you go Patriots, Ravens, Chiefs on the road, and they had a lead in all three.
That would have been like
lead in the Patriots Ravens game. I'm gonna give it to the Chiefs. They held Derrick Henry to 70 yards.
That's a good point. With that bad defense, I won't say
itself.
bad defense, but with that defense to hold him to 78, that's impressive.
So I'm going to give it to the Chiefs there. I really like Andy Reid. I feel like he's been 61 for about 20 years now. I thought he was in his 70s. He's 61. Look great. That Tennessee Titans defense is tough, and Patrick Mahomes did a lot of the plays on the run. I always get scared when he runs. He's had some ankle issues, just lower body issues. He looked great today, and he showed NFL, okay, guys, you hyped up Lamar Jackson for 16 weeks. I'm still here, and I'm the best quarterback in the NFL. But I will say, the 49ers, I mean, Aaron Rodgers comes to town, and the offensive for the 49ers is just an entirely different animal. Just insane. For the fact that Raheem Mostert, who was cut by my Miami Dolphins and 6 other NFL teams, ran for second most yards in a playoff game, is insane. Like, he's not Ezekiel Elliott. He's not a Derrick Henry. That's crazy. So I got to, tip my cap to them. Aaron Rodgers came on late. It was nice to at least see that he got there, but it's totally wasted career if they don't get him a proper O-line soon.
Super Bowl.
Or a secondary. Right. Just anything. Like, he's got weapons on offense. Aaron Jones, Devonta Adams, Jimmy Graham. The weapons are there. But it takes, as you've seen with the 49ers, Jimmy G complete passes. 6 passes on Sunday.
Just think about that. In today's day and age of 6 passes, that's just unreal.
Yeah.
And to beat a football team,
they still scored what?
Huh?
Was it 40?
Oh, that too. Yeah, not only to do that, but to score.
Points. And the quarterback threw 6 passes. Get the trenches right. They've got O-line and D-line for days.
Mean, if I'm someone in the NFL right now, I'm looking at some of those, not the top picks. I'm looking at Josh Rosen just sitting there right now. You're a team. You have a good coach. He might work. I mean, you just have a guy like that. I had another guy in my head just now. It just flew out. But, there are some guys that Teddy Bridgewater is the guy. Just a normal quarterback, middle of the road. If he's on your team, you might be able to 9-7, 10-6, something like that. You don't need the top of the line quarterback.
See, I think all these teams have it wrong. It's so hard to find a really good quarterback. How many quarterbacks are drafted and don't pan out. So it's the hardest position to play in sports. So you would think they'd go the other way, build it like you said, line, a really strong running game, have a game manager, great defense, and you can win. That would be the model in the NFL to win.
Absolutely. I mean, what were you about to say something?
Oh, it just shocks me that he threw 8 total passes and completed 6. They scored 37 points on it.
It's just unheard of.
I love Coach Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan is the real deal. And the fact that the Cleveland Browns and all these teams that are looking for head coaches totally passed over the San Francisco 49ers defensive coordinator is just mind-blowing. He's the real deal, too. So whoever ends up getting him as a head coach, they're getting a really good one. But I think it's going to be a great game. I'd love to see Patrick Mahomes dissect that 49ers defense. And he's going to be on the run a lot because Bosa and that D-line are going to get after him. I've never really liked the Chiefs' trenches. They've got maybe 1 or 2 good O-linemen, and their D-line is always
Yeah, I mean, people are trying to point out that their linebackers have had a good season, but, you can't bank on that in the Super Bowl.
And listen, we're forgetting about Azeez Al-Shire. He was inactive for the game. He was hurt. So maybe he'll be healthy and he'll play or he'll start, and that'd be a great story if he won the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Oh, that would be. I'd like to see Mahomes and Andy Reid lift the trophy, but I would be equally as happy if Azeez Al-Shire had a picture where he had the owls up and then the Super Bowl. That would be like,
heck yeah, man. That's what it's all about. And that's so huge for FAU to say, if if you come here, you have the chance to win a Super Bowl one day. I mean, it happened once;
Yeah.
it can happen again. So
I think Greg Joseph is also going to cement his job there in Tennessee.
Oh,
I don't think
yeah.
he missed a kick in this whole.
Yeah,
whole
yeah. Oh, absolutely.
He had some
he's
struggles
such a
at the
nice
beginning.
guy.
Like last
He
year, I
went
was
to
like,
my
"Gosh, that guy's not
sports
gonna be in the league."
class last year. He talked to all of us for like a full hour and a half, and it was amazing because he talked about the life of a kicker, and he said he's like, oh yeah, he's like I can get cut 2 or 3 times a year and not really care, because he's like that's just the way the kicking industry works.
Right.
They cut you, add you, cut you, add you. He said every time he gets cut, he comes back to Boca and sits on the beach every morning. That's all he does. So, but it's just amazing that as an NFL kicker,
I hope
you
I hope
get-
he cements a job.
oh no, he should be a full
I
time
hope
kicker.
he
at this
becomes
He
like
point.
should be. Oh,
Absolutely.
Fantasy
Yeah.
kicker. Like I hope next year I can draft single motor, Harrison Bryant, and Greg Joseph.
Oh yeah, Harrison Bryant, wherever he goes, man. I saw a rumor today he was talking with Jacksonville,
Ooh.
but I mean, it doesn't mean anything that he's talking with them because
Right.
they have to actually pick him in the first place. But still, I mean, I don't know. I mean, he could be the next Kittle type of player.
I really
Yeah.
think when he goes to the combine, he's going to impress so many people.
Yeah.
He's
I
a good
see-
kid too.
I think I wouldn't be surprised if he sneaks into the bottom of the first round.
I mean,
team
last
really
year,
falls in love
Hayden
with him.
Hurst.
With the way
Yeah.
the game is and tight ends and mismatch.
Yeah.
Bottom of the first. That would not
The
be
Lions
surprised.
picked a tight end top 10 last year.
Yeah.
Horrible pick, in my opinion. But it's the Lions. You never know.
They don't
Tight
do
end-
anything
as,
right.
Tight ends, as you can see, you can run an offense through them. George Kittle,
Yeah.
Gronkowski, Travis Kelsey. You can literally run an offense through them. And George Kittle blocking down the field, he's an asset. He's in on every play.
And I don't want to go on a little Giants thing. It just made me think. The Giants have the generational running back. They've got the quarterback that's good enough to win games. They've got Evan Ingram, the tight end, if he could actually stay healthy. And they have 3 or 4 receivers. It just made me start thinking about the Giants again the other day when they hired Jason Garrett as offensive coordinator.
Mhm.
And, I actually see potential with the Giants. There's something there with the Giants.
Yeah, see, I think they made a big mistake. You never hire a Belichick assistant. Name one Belichick assistant who's done anything.
Ryan
None.
Flores.
None.
None.
Ryan Flores
one.
came to Miami and won 5 games with a talentless roster.
That's the crowning achievement of
I will
Belichick
literally,
assistants.
I'll say it any day of the week. They finally got it right. But he also wasn't really an offensive coordinator or a defensive coordinator. He was like head of scouting and I don't even know. He
Yeah,
called
I mean,
the defensive
The one
plays,
thing
though.
that I saw right through it, because Joe Judge did a introductory press conference, and he started it off just by going on this whole gung-ho speech, and I'm like, players can see right through you, man. Like, I'm living in Florida watching your press conference. I see right through you. Like, these are grown men, so anyway, we were talking about the NFL championship. We kind of drifted off there for a second, but overall, I think, if I'm going to answer my own question here, I would actually agree with CJ. I would go with the Chiefs as the more impressive win. The only reason for that is I think the Green Bay Packers were probably the most overrated 13-3 team like ever. Offensive line bad, defense not good, depended on turnovers way too much. Aaron Rodgers, and we can have this discussion for another day because that would go into a whole 20-minute rant. Aaron Rodgers looked a little bit washed, a little bit. And if you look at that NFC North, I think Minnesota had the better roster. It's just that they ran into Green Bay at home and lost. So that's it for the NFL. So now let's shift into Major League Baseball, where I'm going to go on a little mini rant here because there's been some more Astros stuff. And if any of you follow me on Twitter, I've been obsessively tweeting about it. I can't stop. So what's been happening in the last few days, there's been rumors of a buzzer gate. So this is since the last show. There's rumors of a buzzer gate, which means players are saying that the Astros players are wearing Bluetooth devices under their uniforms to relay the pitch signs to them, meaning curveball comes and they get electrically shocked on the arm for, 2 buzzes. To me, obviously, this is cheating, and this actually goes worse than the video, in center field, the camera. It is it's so much worse than that. It's not, you can't even put it to words. At the end of the day, Major League Baseball needs to suspend players and they need to take a championship away. The punishment to the Astros was not enough. It's a little slap on the wrist. And before you say, oh, why? Listen, $5 million to Jim Crane is nothing. It might be the maximum fine for an owner. $5 million, he could throw it on the ground and lose it, and he wouldn't care. Number 2, they're losing their picks for 2 years. They don't need picks for 2 years. They have Springer and Altuve and Bregman. They're all under contract, and they're all still there for the next 2 years. They don't need first and second round picks for the next 2 years. Who cares? And then when you look at the players, they were more guilty than A.J. Hinch was. They are the ones that designed this whole system in the first place. The fact that they got off scot clean and the fact that they were allowed, Bregman and Altuve came back to Minute Maid Park yesterday to talk to the media, and they just sat there and they were like, the commissioner made his decision. We cannot comment on any. Are you kidding me? You couldn't have said sorry. We cheated. Are you kidding me? They disgraced the game. They took a championship away from two teams, and they almost took it away from a third one. I'm talking about Dodgers, Yankees, Nationals. And again, I keep telling people I'm a Yankee fan, right? This is not the reason why I'm mad at the Astros. They cheated the entire sport in doing this. They affected many lives. You're talking about pitchers who were borderline on major league, minor leagues. Maybe they gave up a home run to the Astros and they were sent to the minors and never came back.
Joe Girardi lost his job.
Joe Girardi lost his job. I mean, yes, he's back with the Phillies now, but who knows what would have happened? It affected.
Terrible for the league. It really is.
It really. I'll let you talk in a second. But one more thing, I'll note: you took an MVP away from Aaron Judge. Jose Altuve won the MVP in 2017. It was this close, the race. I mean, Aaron Judge, you could be talking about. He just got $8 million this year in his arbitration case. He would have had a few more million than that, and maybe even he would have had his extension by now. So you're talking people's lives. I mean, CC Sabathia was complaining the other day. He's like, one sign, and we could have been in the World Series. So that's it for me. I had to get it out off my chest. What are your whole views on this, Mitch? Because I know you're a big baseball guy.
Yeah, couldn't agree with you more. I think MLB needs to punish the players. The players are, they took part in this and need to vacate the championships for the Astros and the Red Sox and give them to the Yankees. But
I don't know about that, but
seriously,
yes, okay.
they need to vacate those championships. They were, they cheated, and it's just terrible for the game. It's terrible for the players, and they really just took this to the next level. The Astros did, and I think the one team that lucked out were the Mets because they got rid of Beltran, who they never should have hired to begin with. So if I'm a Mets fan, I'm like, woohoo, this is great, So, but I think, it's just terrible. I mean, to do this and you're affecting people's lives. And I always felt, I'm like, how could Altuve hit a ball that far? A guy, he's like 5'6", 180. Come on.
And especially that Chapman home run.
Right. I mean, come on. It's just come on. There's no integrity, and what I don't understand is with the way the game is, with free agency and players being cut and picked up. Wouldn't you think that and it happened? Wouldn't you think other players would blow the whistle and would And it did. So that's what is interesting. And this nonsense that Beltran brought it to the Yankees. Oh, come on.
Oh,
Yankees
please. They already debunked that.
Yeah, give me a break.
Yeah.
But I think it's really is a shame. It's just bad for baseball. It's bad for. It's just, what kind of example are you setting for minor leaguers and kids out there playing the game? It's just terrible. And I think you're right. The players should be absolutely punished as well. If they have the evidence, they found it, and the players should be. The NFL suspended Tom Brady for 4 games for deflating the ball.
This is worse than that.
Right. So I think the players should be punished as well.
I agree 100%. CJ, you have anything to add?
Yeah. So I'm not the biggest baseball guy. Once baseball starts, once the season starts, I always get a little excited. So for about a month, I'll watch it every day, once every 2 days. That is definitely from I'd say right when hockey and NBA ends. That's when I don't go on ESPN anymore.
Yeah,
until
that dead period
August,
for a few months
because it's just all SC top 10 straight plays of guys diving in the outfield. It's the same play. It's impressive, same play. But
Yep.
I have an opinion on this. That video of Jose Altuve running home after the walk off in ALCS Game 7, and him not wanting them to basically celebrate because of the potential of the necklace falling out, or the buzzer, or whatever. These guys are denying it to the grave. I've always been a fan of Bregman. Not anymore. I don't think that guy can just say it how it is. I think he is a liar. I think that they were wearing something. And it's going to come out big time within the next week or two. They will find out. They are working day and night on this investigation, but I don't want to say baseball's a dying sport. To play baseball, I personally think is one of the best sports to play. It's fun, but viewership
I agree with you.
watching baseball. If Game 7 of the World Series was on tomorrow and there was Game 7 NHL, Game 7 NBA, and let's say the AFC Championship game,
No one's watching
tomorrow.
baseball.
Baseball would have the worst rating.
Yeah.
Viewership.
Well, no. They beat out hockey.
Do you think they beat out hockey? You think
The
that
World
if
Series
it was
would
like
beat
the
out
Boston
hockey, yeah.
Bruins versus I don't know, Game 7
I mean,
hockey,
what do you think?
I feel like
Do you
does,
think baseball would beat out hockey in ratings if all four were on the same time?
I think
it'd be really close.
I think so. Well, you're talking about regular season or
Game
or
7.
He's
game-
talking Game 7
Oh,
World.
baseball.
Yeah,
There's
that's
nothing
what I'm
like
saying.
playoff baseball. I mean,
But they
there's
say the
nothing
same
like-
thing about hockey, though.
Right.
They say Game 7 hockey.
Yeah.
It's
I
tough.
think baseball.
I think
Baseball is more of
hockey's-
an American
Yeah,
pastime,
it
and I
is.
like hockey. But hockey is more of a Canadian sport.
I will
so-
say it definitely would be a little skewed, though, because all of Canada would tune in.
True.
So it would be slightly skewed. Regardless, they would be bottom. Of
Yeah, bottom
pack.
two. Yeah.
Bottom two. So this is so bad for baseball in so many ways. It turns me away from watching baseball. It turns adults away from watching baseball. Everyone hates the cheating. The cheating is like sucks all the fun out of everything. People bashed Pete Rose. Like bashed Pete Rose. He never even bet on his team. He never bet on his team. Like I agree with bashing Pete Rose. Like you should not be betting on sports while you're playing that sport and you're in the majors.
Yeah, and
That's
managing.
fishing
Yeah.
alone. Props to you for never betting on your team. But a ban, it was a lifetime, right?
Yeah, I think what it was with P. Rose, he never bet against his team to lose. He would bet for them to win, though.
Ah,
Right.
Well, I mean, geez, if you ask LeBron James tomorrow, you want to put $100 down the Lakers win? He's like,
He
yeah, I'll
would.
put $100 down the Lakers win. We're
Yeah.
gonna win. I understand the ban. I understand like the bashing, but to ban him for that, like lifetime ban him for that, and not get in the Hall of Fame. The guy was an insane player. I don't think
Most
did he
hits
take
ever.
steroids.
Yeah. No, he never took
Never took-
steroids. Most hits
So
ever.
he bet on his
4,000
team
hits.
to win. Jeez. I think seriously, Jose Altuve, like whoever was genuinely involved in this, Cora, the head coach of the Astros, Hinch, is it Hinch? Hinch?
Yeah,
Is that
AJ
what it-
Hinch. Yep.
These guys need to be done. Like done. Like you need to put your fist down now, like your foot down now, and it needs to be like, this is the MLB. I'm not going to stand for it. You ruined the Yankee season. You ruined whoever else's season. And I think these guys need to be literally removed. And if it's not lifetime ban for Cora, absolutely.
Oh,
That
yeah.
guy
I think
started
he's
everything
definitely getting
almost.
that.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
but the last thing I want to say is like, if I'm the Red Sox ownership, was the year that the Red Sox won the World Series was the year that JD Martinez had that like unreal
Yep.
season. Did they not give him an unreal contract?
They did.
Totally skewed. The guy was cheating. The guy was literally. I would feel ashamed. I'm like, I just gave this guy so much money.
That's another. I
And
just thought
he
Mookie
totally
Betts,
cheated.
too, won the MVP in
Mhm.
2018.
Right.
Right back down this year.
Right.
It's yeah.
But
JD Martinez
here's-
horrible year this year, and you're paying him what? Like, there's so many repercussions, and these guys just need to be gone.
It
See, I
is
think
amazing.
this is worse than steroids. I really
Oh,
do.
yeah.
Oh, way worse. I agree.
Oh, yeah.
I agree.
Because here's the
Right.
thing. With steroids, it was, it was probably more than one or two guys a team, but it was not the whole team. Every hitter on the Astros was doing this.
Right.
This was a team effort.
And what's really and you can tell. I mean, Altuve's batting average home and away is night and day. But here's the thing: they were warned. These teams were warned not
Yep.
to do this, and they kept on doing it.
Yeah. It's
That's
that defiance.
Right.
Yeah.
Like they felt they were above the law.
Yeah. And then, for Altuve to come out yesterday, he's like, oh, we'll win the World Series this year anyways. That's not what this is about.
Right.
Own it.
Right. Exactly.
It's awful. It's awful. I can't talk
It's
about
just
it anymore.
bad for
I'm gonna get too
baseball and
upset.
viewing,
It's
and
bad.
it's just like, I can't even begin. I'm sitting there, and it's just like it just makes my skin crawl because
Yeah,
like
me
how
too.
do you do that with millions upon millions of people watching?
And Carlos Beltran came out with a statement the other day, and he was like, "This is not who I am as a human being." I would, and he said it was all this like, stupid stuff. Let's just
Mhm.
call it that. And I was sitting there like, if this isn't who you are as a person, then why did you do it every day for months? Like you can't.
Right.
It can't be that horrible to you as a person if you did it every single day, then won a championship, and then retired right after. I mean, and it was his first ring ever, so he was clearly trying to get a ring. And then one more player I have to call out, Justin Verlander, opens his mouth about every issue in Major League Baseball.
And stays
He
quiet.
is the biggest hypocrite in
Fraud.
the entire world
Right.
of sports.
Fraud.
Right.
I
All
agree.
sport. He complained about juice balls. Are you kidding me? The whole league knew about the juice balls, and now they're turning them back into the regular balls for this year.
I will say though, something that I there when I watch, just to like wrap this up, when I watch baseball, my stepbrother, he's a massive Chicago Cubs fan. His family's from Chicago, so he would always buy the MLB pass for the season. He would just give me the link, right, and I would always watch before going to bed in the summer. And I always loved to tune into the Astros games because I always respected what the Astros were built on. They built their team up. I liked Altuve. I liked Bregman, Correa. Whenever Verlander pitched, he always looked upset and embarrassed. Like he looked like he just looked like he wasn't there. Like he was pitching out of his mind. But I don't know what it was. He just did not look like he did when he played with the Tigers. A little bit more pumped up, a little bit more animated. He was never like an actual animated character.
That's
He wasn't a
interesting. I
big
never noticed
locker
that,
room
yeah.
guy. But when I watched, I was sitting there and I'm like, this guy looks so upset. And he might have been upset because he gets there and he's like, are you kidding me? Like, this is what's going down. Like, I've spoken up on every major issue and now I got to keep quiet about this. It's just, I don't know. But he's a total hypocrite. I agree.
Completely. And so now we will move on to the NBA. We're going to talk about the NBA just for a little bit. So let's talk about the Miami Heat. This team, man, and I've been having debates. I actually had the debate with my little brother when I went back home, and he's been into basketball lately, and I was like, no, I think Milwaukee's better than Miami. I like the Bucks. You can't beat Giannis. There's no one on the Heat that can guard Giannis. And my brother's like, oh no, look at the depth. Look at the depth. Look at the depth. And I look at their roster. You could basically make 2 starting fives out of the Heat roster.
Yeah.
That's enough to stop Giannis, in my estimation. And when you look at the rest of the East, Philly, I'm not really scared by them whatsoever. Embiid is not clutch. Simmons can't shoot threes. And quite frankly, not really anyone can shoot threes on the 76ers. They let go of JJ Redick for some reason, even though, he was cheap, $10, $12 million, shoots threes, automatic type of guy. They let him go, and they don't have shooters. So the Sixers are going to lose a series. And if you look at the rest of the East, what else is there? There's nothing. Toronto won the championship last year. Kawhi and Danny Green are gone. They're not going there this year. We all knew that right when Kawhi left. So I think the Miami Heat, not just this year, but for the next number of years, have a chance to go to the NBA Finals. They've got this young core surrounded with Bam Adebayo. You've got Goran Dragic, Tyler Hero. Well, Goran Dragic's old, but you have Tyler Hero. Kendrick Nunn's been insane, especially over the last few games. I don't know if you guys saw, he made that 1 Euro step exactly like D-Wade against the Spurs.
Yep.
Thought that was awesome.
Yep.
But I look at the Heat, again, them are the Bucks in the East. I look at the West, Clippers, Lakers, that's it. I don't see anyone else in the West really making a fight for it. You look around Utah. Okay, great. They're great at defense. They've got some nice players, but they're not going to beat the Clippers or the Lakers in a 7-game series. The Denver Nuggets, they've got Jokic. That's cute. That's it, right? I'm not scared by Jamal Murray. I'm not scared by Gary Harris. I'm really only scared by Jokic. You look at Portland. They're not the team that they were last year. You're really telling me you're going to roll up there with Carmelo Anthony expecting to beat the Lakers? No. So really right now, there's 4 teams in the NBA that can win a finals. And CJ, I'll start with you. What is the strongest team out of those 4? Or if you have another one other than those 4, who would that be?
To win the finals?
Yeah, like who would be your best team in the NBA right now, or who would you have in the NBA finals?
So before last night, I would have definitely told you the Lakers. They got it done the other day without LeBron or without AD.
Yeah.
Without AD. I like the Lakers a lot. I think LeBron's on a mission. I think there's a lot of negative press around him, though, that just fuels him. He always likes to post on Instagram, #WashedKing, because these people, they're just like guys like Skip Bayless, who I understand he gets paid to literally sound like an idiot. But I would probably give it to the Lakers. Clippers close second.
Yeah, but
I think
the Lakers
two best
lost to
teams
the
in the
Clippers
NBA
twice.
are playing in the same arena. Which is, in my opinion, it's just annoying. But out of the East,
And you're a Heat fan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but the Celtics just absolutely just demolished the Lakers last night. I don't know if you
Oh
saw.
my God, I forgot
did-
about.
they-
Okay, so Boston as well is that
Yeah.
third team in the East.
Yeah.
I forgot about them.
Kemba Walker, I think, was the perfect replacement for Kyrie Irving, if not a better culture fit.
For Boston, yes, I agree with you.
Absolutely. I think getting rid of Al Horford actually ended up being a good thing. He's a little too slow for the modern day NBA, but they look good. Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Smart, Kemba Walker, Gordon Hayward, they got a great team.
Yeah,
and
talk
it's a
about
tough
depth.
place to play.
Yeah,
Boston, horrible place to play. But my top 3 in the East would be Bucks, Heat, Sixers. Bucks, Heat, Celtics, then the Sixers. Something about the Sixers. Ben Simmons is way too big to be running the point and not being able to shoot. Him not being able to shoot, they don't stretch the floor. I don't like the Sixers this year. I don't think it's their year. I think they need to move on from the Ben Simmons project. The guy can't shoot. He can't shoot.
you can't.
I mean, I really would love to see them being in a game 7, and there's a second on the clock. He goes to the free throw line, and they're down by 2 points, and he needs to hit 2.
It'd be pretty stressful.
He would brick. It would be a brick. I don't understand. I don't know. He's a great dribbler, great passer, but in today's NBA, you need to shoot. Even Jimmy Butler can shoot. He's not a shooter, but he can shoot. That's what you need on NBA teams. That's why the Heat are working this year. They've got
Everyone
Jimmy
on
Butler
that team can shoot on the Heat.
Yeah, they've got Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, Derrick Jones Jr., who's going to be in the dunk contest, I think.
Yeah, Myers Leonard shoots threes.
And I think Bam Adebayo is on his way to having a really stellar first half of his career. He's a really good player. So I think the Heat can make the finals. I agree with the Giannis going up against the Heat. I would say for me right now, what the matchup would be if it were to be now, it would be Western Conference Finals, the LA teams. So you get a home game every time.
Yeah,
which
right.
is just mind-blowing to me.
It's weird.
And then it would be the Heat versus the Bucks if the seedings worked out like that. With the Lakers probably winning it. I think LeBron's on a mission this year, but Kawhi called him out. He wants him to guard him.
Hey,
LeBron won't guard
what
Kawhi.
I would say to you, I mean, listen, the Lakers lost to the Clippers both times so far, so they're going to have to really change their style of play in the playoff. And you know what? Maybe that's on purpose. Maybe LeBron's like, I don't care about the regular season. I'd rather play my real game against the Clippers and not show anything now, wait for later. But you never know. I mean, one thing about the Clippers, though, and this is something that you have to take note of, due to the way that they have played this season with the whole load management thing, they might be a lower seed than people think, and they might have to go through multiple rounds of more difficult teams than the Lakers will. If the Lakers get the 1, they get to face the 8 seed, then the lower seeds. The Clippers are going to be maybe right in the middle, having to face, Utah, Denver, Houston, to get to the Lakers. That's tough.
I still do think that Houston is going to push one of those LA teams in the semifinals before the conference championship to 6 or 7 games, just because they could score.
That's
I don't
it.
think they're a
Yeah,
team
they're not
that
going
makes
to
the
win,
finals.
but yeah.
But they're going to score. There's such a tough matchup too. To be honest, they're an annoying matchup. You got to cover 2 guys that could go off for 40 points a game.
Agree. Yep. So, Mitch, I don't know. Are you an NBA guy? We got to think.
I'm not a big NBA player. I actually, fan. I actually thought the lockout was still going on, but I'm not a big basketball, fan. Being from New York, I like the Knicks.
Same, sadly.
Which are very tough. Being a Knicks fan, still waiting for them to, turn things around.
If ever.
Yeah, so it's kind of tough for me to watch. I'm really a big FAU basketball supporter.
Hey, well, that's better than being a Knicks fan at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Got more hope than them.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
So let's move on to the NHL for a few minutes because I know we have hockey people that listen to this show. We have not talked about it at all, so I wanted to get it in here. So I'm a Ranger fan. Only reason I'm going to talk about the Rangers right now is because they're actually in trade rumors right now. The Toronto Maple Leafs are tied to the New York Rangers right now. They need a goaltender. The Rangers are shopping Alexander Georgiev, so right now the Rangers have Henrik Lundqvist, who's a Hall of Famer, incredible. Then they have Igor Shesterkin, who is their number 1 goalie prospect. And then they have Alexander Georgiev, who came up through the minor leagues. Last year had a great year, and he's kind of the guy that's expendable. He's the guy that the Rangers want to trade because they don't want to get rid of their prospect, and you can't get rid of your Hall of Famer that's been in New York for his whole career. So it looks like the Rangers might get a big haul for that, and the Maple Leafs might get a goalie. And if the Maple Leafs can get a goalie going into the Stanley Cup playoffs, that is so huge because the East is not it's not impenetrable. You have the Capitals, you can beat them. You look at the Bruins, you can beat them with a goalie. So if I look at the NHL right now, I think that trade, if Toronto can get a goalie, maybe not even from the Rangers, if they can get a goalie, that changes the entire Eastern Conference. I don't know about you. And also, CJ, you can talk about the Panthers as well.
Okay, so were you about to go?
I was just about to say, speaking of the Panthers, the Panthers were selected as host of the 2021
Yes.
NHL All-Star Game.
Yes.
That's really exciting.
Yeah. So hockey's like my second favorite sport here in America. It goes football, hockey, basketball for me. The Maple Leafs, they are an anomaly to me. They have the most star-studded forward group in the NHL. You got Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, John Tavares, William Nylander. There's probably like two other guys I'm like forgetting off the top of my head.
They got like 8 guys, yeah.
They paid big money. They're
stuck, yeah.
They are in the same position as my Florida Panthers with a worse goalie, slightly worse defense, better forward group. Here's when I knew the Toronto Maple Leafs were not going anywhere this year and could potentially not even make the playoffs. They came into Florida, and the Panthers scored 8 goals. 8 goals. It was 6-1 at one point. The Panthers gave up. Third period, they gave up a few crappy goals. It ended up being 8-4. Regardless, that defense is horrific. Horrific. Like terrible. And they don't hit well. If you ever watch the playoffs, what are the teams that progress every year? The Boston Bruins, the Washington Capitals, the teams that can not only score the scrappy goals, they take you out of the game. They hit in the corners. If you are going to go retrieve a puck and you don't shield your body, you're going to get laid out. You're going to get laid out. Maple Leafs, they don't hit well whatsoever. They get taken out of the game. The Panthers are not a particularly physical team, and they totally outmanned and outbodied the Toronto Maple Leafs in that game. They had to fire Mike Babcock halfway through the year. I honestly don't know if that guy's ever going to get hired again.
It seems like a lot of the players hate him.
They hate him.
Yeah.
He made Mitch Marner, his rookie year, while all the guys were in the locker room, say basically who should they keep and who should they not. And Mitch Marner sat there and was like, "What? What do you want me to say?"
Yeah,
that all came out. He got fired. So it's tough to go through a coaching change. In the Toronto media and hockey over there, it's the equivalent to how they criticize the Lakers here after a loss, or like after the Dallas Cowboys lose.
Yeah.
It is like tenfold over there. Like it's nowhere near any other hockey market over in the States, other than maybe the Boston Bruins or the New York Rangers
or the Blackhawks.
So the East is going to be really fun. The Panthers are on a 5-game win streak right now. Joel Quenneville was the coach of the Blackhawks when they won those 3 Stanley Cups. He goes back to Chicago for the first night tonight.
Oh, wow. That should be amazing.
If you guys want to tune into that, that'll be some good TV. They're going to do a whole montage for him on the screen. And
deservedly so.
Patrick Kane, last game, got his 1,000th point. So there's a bunch of storylines going into tonight. I think it's going to be on NHL Network or NBC Sports. The West is going to probably be the St. Louis Blues. Like if I were to pick right now,
it's amazing too without Tarasenko.
The Blues are good. They hit well. They got a great goalie. You hit well, you got a good goalie.
I like Colorado too, though. What are your thoughts on Colorado?
West Coast team. They'll score 6 on you.
There's been rumors with Kreider. Do you think Kreider would do anything for them?
He's a good guy. He's a playoff body. That's a guy that's like a rental guy for hockey, where you get him and you say, "Here, look, you're going to be a third line player when the playoffs roll around, and when you go out there, we need you to just nasty, just get scrappy. That's what you need in the playoffs."
Yeah. Well, the problem with Kreider is he's not always that guy, because I've been watching him every day for 7 years. My dad and I have been complaining about Chris Kreider the entire time he's been a Ranger. We're like, this guy is not more physically 6'4", 225 pounds. He should be hitting people. So sometimes he needs to be better. One thing about Kreider, though, man, he's got some really bad hands. Yeah. He's not a skill guy, that's for sure. So
I just feel like he's also just a guy that's been there, done that, played in a large market.
He's playoff experience. He would be a great addition in terms of that leadership. He kills penalties. He's on power play. One thing that he's great at, he stands in front of the net. One of the best guys at tipping the puck in the NHL. He just
Yeah,
stands in front of the net. He
that's
gets
what
so
I'm
many
saying.
tip-ins.
The Avalanche have a lot of fast skating snipers.
Yeah.
I mean, they score a gajillion goals. So having a presence out in front of the net, you always need. The Capitals are the best 2 teams in the East. I like your Rangers to have a quick rebuild. I think they've done a good job with,
Yeah,
with adding
I hope
pieces
so,
and
man.
drafting. And then in the West, it's definitely for me. It's the Blues and the Avalanche.
Do you think the Panthers will make it?
Oh yeah, they'll make it. They've played the least amount of games in terms of the teams in front of them, and they're about tied with points.
Oh,
So
that's always nice to see.
yeah, win 5, and finally Bobrovsky's starting to play properly. He's living up to the $10 million.
Could you imagine
contract.
wasting that cap money on that and it not panning
And
out?
then drafting a goalie first round who's now like NCAA's best goalie? So it's like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
But the race should be really good, and then the All-Star game's coming up, and yes, it's coming here to Florida. They ranked that the last time they were here in Sunrise is like a top 5 All-Star game experience, so they're bringing it back down here.
Wow.
Hopefully, shows why hockey stays in the Sunrise area and no more relocation talks that we've been haunted with for the past decade. So
Absolutely, and I'm sure FAUL Radio will hopefully get to attend that. Speaking of things that FAUL Radio will be able to attend, and this is something I've been waiting to announce for a few weeks, we recently got credentials to attend the NFL Radio Week. So this show, Strictly Sports with Jacob Browne, will be doing our show. I don't know when it will air because we have a lot of different things going on. So if you follow my Twitter, we will update you. I will be going to Radio Week with CJ next Monday. We don't know if we'll be able to edit it in time to edit it that day, if we'll have to upload it the next day, Wednesday, whatever. But we are going to go. We're going to do our show from Radio Week in Miami for the Super Bowl. This is such a huge opportunity for us. I'm excited. You know, everyone's going to be there. The players, the coaches. Fox Sports 1's going to be there. ESPN's going to be there. So we're looking for interviews, anything. We're going to make our Super Bowl picks next week. Please tune in for episode 8 of Strictly Sports next week. We would love it if you tune in. It's a big episode for us. Also, Nonstop Sports is going on Wednesday. I don't know what their upload schedule looks like as well. And then on Friday, we're actually combining both shows. All 5 of us will be there, so that'll be a lot of fun as well. And of course, we will update you on upload information for all of that. If you don't follow our Twitter, follow us at Strict Sports FAU. Always updating about the show and about all the sports going around the world. Mitch, we wanted to say something else here.
Yeah, I just want to say, kudos to you guys. That's great.
Thank you.
Doing it. That's something you can put on your resume. Go there, network with people. It's a great networking opportunity. You can use that, for your reel. I mean, it's just a great experience. So it just shows you, to get involved with student media on campus. I mean, you guys are getting a great opportunity here. It's a tremendous experience. I mean, to be involved with the Super Bowl Radio Row. I mean, it's great. So way to go.
Thank you, Mitch. We appreciate it. And thank you for coming on once again. I want to thank you, CJ, of course, as always. And I am Jacob Browne, and we will see you next time for episode 8.